Love Island is famous for romance, drama, and explosive moments. But there is one thing you almost never see anymore: smoking. So why did smoking suddenly disappear from the villa? The real reason might surprise you. In the early seasons of Love Island, smoking wasn't just allowed, it was a regular feature of villa life. During Series 3 in 2017, researchers tracked every moment tobacco appeared on screen. The numbers are striking. In just 21 episodes, there were 204 separate intervals where cigarettes, lighters, or tobacco branding popped up. That is 1 in every 5 segments of the show, about 20% of the total airtime filled with some kind of tobacco content. Out of those, 66 intervals showed contestants actually smoking, while many more captured packs, lighters, or the now iconic white ashtray sitting in the corner. The most smoke-filled episode aired on June 19th, 2017. On that night alone, the show reached its peak, with more than a dozen tobacco-related moments packed into a single hour. At its height, the villa's smoking area wasn't just a backdrop, it was a social space. Arguments, alliances, and breakups often played out with cigarettes in hand, the smoking lounge acting as a stage for the show's most memorable scenes. For fans watching at home, these moments became part of the Love Island experience. The smoking area was where secrets spilled, tempers flared, and the real drama often began. It all happened in plain sight, woven into the fabric of the show. But with so much airtime dedicated to smoking, the question wasn't just about villa life, it was about what viewers were seeing and how much of it they could take. Every night in the early Love Island villa, the smoking lounge took on a life of its own. Tucked just off the main garden, it was more than a spot for a quick cigarette. It was the unofficial headquarters for gossip, plotting, and the kind of raw, unfiltered conversations that never made it to the kitchen or fire pit. Islanders drifted in and out, sometimes 3 or 4 at a time, drawn by the promise of privacy and a break from the camera's constant gaze. But in reality, the lounge was one of the most watched corners of the villa. Cameras rolled as friendships formed, secrets spilled, and tensions snapped under the pressure. Arguments that started with a borrowed lighter could spiral into legendary showdowns. Alliances were forged over a shared smoke, while rivals sized each other up through clouds of haze. One night, the atmosphere in the lounge turned electric. What began as a casual chat erupted into a shouting match that left the whole villa on edge. As one former contestant remembers, when I walked into the smoking lounge that night, the tension was already thick. The cigarette was just the spark. The real fire was the argument that followed. For viewers, these scenes became iconic. The smoking area wasn't just a backdrop. It was a character in its own right, shaping the flow of every episode. With every confrontation and whispered confession, the lounge turned everyday villa life into must-watch TV. All of that would soon be up for debate, as more people began to question whether so much drama should come wrapped in cigarette smoke. Complaints didn't just trickle in, they flooded the system. By the summer of 2017, the sheer volume of viewer outrage was impossible to ignore. Social media lit up with reactions every night. Twitter feeds filled with screenshots of Islanders puffing away, Instagram stories tagged with hashtag #LoveIslandSmoking, and Facebook threads stacked with parents worried about what their kids were seeing. Posts racked up hundreds of likes and retweets in minutes. One tweet summed up the mood. "Is this Love Island or a Marlboro ad?" Regulators started to notice. Ofcom, the UK broadcasting watchdog, received a wave of formal complaints, far more about smoking than about sex or swearing that year. Smoking grievances didn't just make the list, they dominated it. In 2017, more than half of all complaints about Love Island focused on cigarettes, not romance. The numbers kept climbing. By Series 4, complaints about on-screen smoking had soared into the thousands, eclipsing every other issue in the regulator's logbook. For the first time, smoking, not sex, became the most complained about part of the show. The backlash wasn't just about health. Fans and advocacy groups worried about the impact on teenagers and young adults, pointing to studies showing millions of tobacco impressions delivered to viewers under 16. Headlines warned of a smoking epidemic on TV, and health charities called for urgent action. The pressure was relentless, a mix of angry tweets, official letters, and media campaigns, all demanding change. The message was clear: the days of casual on-screen smoking were numbered, and the spotlight was now on the producers to respond. Public health experts did not waste time weighing in. As the complaints piled up, organizations like Action on Smoking and Health began to speak out. They warned that Love Island's tobacco scenes were not just background noise. They were a real risk for young viewers. Dr. Priya Patel, a spokesperson for that organization, explained it simply. Research shows that each tobacco impression to a child raises the odds of them picking up a habit. Seeing celebrities casually smoke on a primetime show is exactly the exposure we warn against. The numbers backing these warnings were hard to ignore. A University of Nottingham study found that Series 3 alone delivered 559 million tobacco impressions to the UK public, including 47 million to children under 16. Cancer Research UK estimated that 127,000 children aged 11 to 15 started smoking between 2014 and 2016. That period overlaps with Love Island's early run. Headlines spelled out the concern, with health charities calling the show's smoking scenes completely unacceptable and a direct violation of broadcast codes meant to protect young people. Surveys commissioned by advocacy groups added more fuel. One found that 77% of 11 to 18-year-olds who had ever tried smoking had seen tobacco imagery on TV. The message from experts was clear. Every time Love Island showed a contestant lighting up, it was not just a personal choice. It was a broadcast that could influence thousands of teenagers watching at home. That kind of pressure made it impossible for producers to ignore the calls for change. Soon, the debate was no longer about villa drama. It was about public health, youth risk, and the responsibility of putting such images on screen. ITV's official response landed with a set of rules that changed villa life overnight. Smoking wasn't banned outright, but it was pushed out of the spotlight. Contestants could still light up, but only in a hidden sealed pod, tucked behind a garden wall, far from the old communal lounge, and completely out of the camera's view. The new pod wasn't built for conversation. It measured just over 1 metre long and less than 1 metre wide, with thick soundproofing and a single seat. Only one islander could use it at a time, under the watch of a production staff member. No more group huddles, no more off-the-cuff drama in a smoky corner. Internal memos made it clear. Every cigarette break would now happen off-camera, strictly solo, and away from the main action. The days of the villa's social smoke lounge were over, replaced by a system designed to keep tobacco, and the stories that came with it, out of sight. Producers didn't just want to shield viewers from cigarette smoke, they wanted to regain control over the story itself. The old smoking lounge was a wild card. Group chats could spark alliances or arguments without warning, and sometimes the best drama happened just out of earshot. Camera crews struggled with the cigarette glow messing up exposure, and sound engineers battled overlapping conversations and the scrape of ashtrays. The single-person pod changed all that. Now every important conversation had to happen somewhere the cameras could follow, with lighting and audio exactly as planned. As one former senior producer put it, once we lost the group smoking area, we had to find new ways to catch the real drama. No more missing a bombshell because it happened behind a cloud of smoke. The trade-off was clear: less chaos, more control, and a tighter grip on the narrative that makes Love Island tick. Now, every moment in the villa is carefully shaped for the screen. No smoke breaks, no unscripted side chats, no distractions from the main event. In an era when image drives influence, what stays hidden matters as much as what is seen. The real drama is always under control. Share your thoughts below.